Alright, welcome back to the Roblox course, and in this lecture we're going to talk about some built-in functions. Now, we've seen a few bits already, however now we're really going to add some tools to our toolbox, let's say, so that we can, actually create a game going forward. And one of those things are the built-in functions. Now, we've seen something similar within the Lua part of this course, where we had, for example, the math library, right, where we had some math functions we could call. But this is actually something totally different. It's not totally different, it is similar, but it is something that is for Roblox only. So first of all, I have already prepared a script here, built-in functions, and I've already have the local part here in a variable, my part. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at what functions we can call on this part. And to actually see, okay, what functions are there, we can go here up to view and have this object browser. Now, if we click this, and it's going to open the object browser, and then at the left here, we can see every possible class that there is inside of Roblox. Now, as you can see, there are a crazy number of classes here, right? So, of course, we can't go through all of them at this moment in time. This is why we're going to look at the part of at this moment. And we're going to see, okay, what can we do with the part? Now, the things that we've already seen, if we go, there we go. If we go back to the script and we say my part dot, then we can see we have, as a suggestion here, all of these blue dots. Those are the parameters that we've seen last lecture. And then we also have these lightning bolts. We've not talked about those yet. Those are events, but we're going to talk about them also in a future lecture. But now we actually want to talk about some functions. Now, here, no functions are mentioned actually, so we can't actually call any functions on this. Why is that? Well, functions are called a little bit differently here in this case. But before we call any of them, let's see what there is. So, as you can see, there are a few functions available. The functions are all in this with this not square, it's a cube, a pink cube going somewhere, I don't know, something like that. So those are all the functions, and they all return something. Or you can also give the function a parameter or multiple parameters. And of course, not all of them. We can't also look at all of them, a lot of them there, but we're gonna look at a few of them. How can you access those? Well, you can access those by actually putting in a colon, and then you're gonna access the functions. Now, for example, let's first of all do my part clone, and we can also go, but if we do this is gonna return an instance. So that's interesting, right? What is an instance? We're not sure. Well, let's just do a local test, let's say, because this is gonna return something. And then, for example, we could just say, well, let's test it out. Let's just print out test. I mean, who knows what happens? Let's just play it and see what's going on. So first things first, it's going to print out my part 1. That's interesting. And now if we go here, nothing really changed all that much. But if we go to the Explorer, nothing here has changed as well. So that's kind of weird. So how is that? How does that work? Right now, there's a big reason why we haven't seen the, let's say, new part there. Because the parent is actually not set properly, so we actually have to set the parent to game.workspace. Otherwise, the new part, let's say, that we've cloned here is just gonna say float in the air. It's not gonna be anywhere, right? It's not gonna exist anywhere. If we play now and look at the workspace, as you can see, there's a second my part 1, and it's actually gonna be, in between the other two parts. There it is. Yes, this is the new one. The fully the one that I just renamed WD. So this is the new part that we've just created, and now it's gone again because this was created via this function and via the script basically. So this is, for example, a clone, the clone function. Now there's also, let's say, oh well, let's just take the test and then let's say, well, let's just destroy it. Now on this variable, we're actually not going to get any suggestions, because Roblox at this moment in time doesn't know what type is written in this variable. That's, for example, let's just say then, well, we actually want to destroy the original one, and then let's say my part 1 destroy, and then let's run this and see what happens here. And now what's going to happen is that the one of the parts is being destroyed and the other one isn't. So the original part is being destroyed and the one we've cloned is actually remains. So that's, for example, the destroy. And there are a bunch of other ones. So for example, we could say, you know, find first child. We could also say, is there not a get parent as well? Something like that. Or find parent, it might be called. Something like that. Get children we can do. So get children is basically, the idea was that we've seen with the properties that there is a parent property, and we've also seen it here, right here. And the parent is inside of the Explorer always the thing that is above the child, basically, right? So workspace right now is the parent of camera, terrain, baseplate, my part 1 and my part 2. And conversely, of course, when those are the children of workspace, the ergo my part 1 is the workspace is its parent, right? So that's the idea. And an object can only ever have one parent in this case. It can, however, have multiple children. Now, if, for example, we would take my part here and put it under my part 1, then of course what happens is that, first of all, we can go down here and then we can see that the parent now is my part 1. So my part 2 has a parent, that's my part 1, and my part 1 has another parent, that's workspace. Now, this shouldn't be completely crazy because, of course, your parents also have parents and their parents also have parents. So this is sort of a way of building a tree. And you can get some of those things, for example, with the built-in functions here. And as you can see, there are a whole bunch more. Some of them will be used, you know, soon enough in other lectures. Some of them, I mean, maybe are not even going to be used at all. But there's a lot of things in here, and these are only for the parts, by the way. There are so many other ones, you know, so some of them are once again shared because those are mostly object functions. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, for example, for the chat, there's another one for the. I'm not sure. Is there not something for another one? Yeah, there you go. So analytics service, for example, doesn't matter what that is right now, but just as an example, there are different types of functions there to call as well. So that's just important that there's a whole bunch of different types of objects here. Most of them are not even interesting to us at this moment in time. And then for each of those types, right now we want to select the part again. There we go. And then for each of those types, there are different types of functions that they both share. And then there are some functions that are specific to that type of object, basically. Just like we've seen with the properties. So, yeah, what I would advise you to do is simply go to the part and just look at some of those functions here. Maybe just play around with a couple of them. When you select them, you can always see what you're going to get out of this. So, for example, here you're going to get objects, returns a read-only table of this object's children, right? So most of the time you have good summaries, not always, but most of the time you have decent summaries there as well, which are going to help you, you know, understand what the function actually does. So I definitely say play around with it a little bit, see what you can see what happens. This is basically one of the beauties of, well, you know, programming and scripting in general. You can just goof around a little bit, just play around a little bit, just write something and see what happens, right? Because in the end, you're not really going to break anything if it's not in a fully fledged game or anything, or something that's going to be sold at this point. It doesn't matter. You can just play around a little bit. And maybe you're going to find something that's kind of funny, and you're going to be like, oh, that's kind of funny. I didn't want to do that, but, you know, that's kind of cool. So I really, really implore you to just experiment a little bit, especially with those built-in functions. So yeah, that is a short little overview of the functions and basically the object browser here. And, well, I hope that everything was clear. If there are any questions, of course, always feel free to ask, and I'll be sure to respond. And yeah,